to get right back down to the control room. So when we launched Fox 29 Live and Fox Local, this was part of what we wanted to be able to provide. So what we are just now getting in the newsroom is confirmation that in this shooter situation, there were 2 police officers who have been shot. We're trying to get additional information to confirm the extent of any injuries. Also, more information
Carly,
on
is there any other
fire
feeds too, like chopper
that
feeds or
we
anything
told
like
you
that?
about and that we showed
I'm
you
wondering.
during the breaking news. We now can confirm that SWAT is there on the scene,
Wow.
trying to figure out exactly what is going on in this situation. It looks as if we are going to break in again.
Yes, break in, baby.
Shortly, to try to get an additional update as more information is coming in. So you're seeing all of this as we try to get set up and get more information.
I got live feed, guys.
Constant update.
I got live feed. Are you ready? It's crazy. This shit is wild. I don't know what's going on.
Locator helicopter in a certain area.
Oh my God.
What they're trying to do, we're just not going to show it to you. So we're showing you this videotape right now from moments ago, that when the officer was pulled away. As we know, that officer is one of 2 injured. They are both conscious and alert. Want to underline that fact right now as we head back out live. Action News reporter John Paul has been speaking to neighbors on the ground. John, what can you tell us right now?
Well, Brian, that fire is still burning down the street. It's actually getting bigger and bigger. And I want you to look over here. All these firefighters are staged. They're ready to go, but they just haven't been given the go ahead to head down that street. We've only seen really police officers down that way, and a lot of cars coming out. Looks like neighbors being evacuated perhaps from the street. And I did just talk to one neighbor, Sean Ferguson, and you actually heard the
gunshots. It was rapid gunfire. I was in the couch, just sitting on the couch, heard pop, and I heard pop, 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 pop. I peeked out to see it, and then literally 10 seconds later, about cops were coming from everywhere, every direction, yelling, active shooter, close your door, telling me to close my door. So I did. I just closed my door.
And you saw an officer being loaded into the
I saw the ambulance turn around, put the back door towards where the gunfire was coming, and the officer walked. He wasn't dragged. He walked and got into the ambulance and was taken off.
Did he look injured?
No, maybe holding his hand. Maybe if it was, it's a grace, because it wasn't like, gunshot.
And how close do you live to where the gunfire?
I live right behind you. See the SUV? White SUV?
Yeah.
My house.
You were close.
Yeah.
Sean, thank you for talking to us. So, yeah, that's an eyewitness account of the gunfire. They said they heard multiple shots. We're watching more SWAT officers running toward the scene of that burning house. 2 more. We're still hearing sirens down here on the ground. A lot of police officers still coming to the scene. And you can see those flames burning through that house right now with the shot that you're looking at, and the black smoke billowing into the air. I can smell it from where I'm standing. You can smell the smoke from that fire as we're watching more and more officers rush to the scene, and the firefighters being held back away from this, not able to go fight those flames, presumably because it's too dangerous. Now it looks like we have an ambulance that might be coming in to the scene right now.
Okay. With apologies for that, obviously a fluid situation. John's audio appears to have gone out. I think it's worth, reflecting on what we're seeing right now as we are now 20 some odd minutes into this entire ordeal, which frankly started happening as Sarah and I sat in these chairs to deliver what was going to be Action News at 4 today. We have obviously tossed that aside to bring you what's happening live and right now. These flames have all but devoured this home. And as the
Nick the Hat is actually going to the scene. He said on his Twitter that the shooter is still at large. 2 officers shot, and then one of the other news articles said a child was shot too, an 11-year-old. So trying to find out the information is just coming out now. The shooter is at large. He said he's 20 minutes out, Nick is, from getting there. They've called federal aviation assistance and aerial support on the state and federal levels until people are en route from various states. Okay. 2 officers have been safely extracted from the scene. and are currently being transported for medical attention. Smoke has been reported emerging from the third floor of the 3-story residential building. I wonder if this guy lit the place up.
Access that 11-year-old gunshot victim who was the reason police initially responded here to this home. The address 58 Lewis Avenue in East Lansdowne, Delaware County. They were on the scene shortly before 4 o'clock when the gunshot started coming from this house. You heard that eyewitness say he heard a pop, 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 and then he saw an officer with what appeared to be maybe a hand wound. We saw video of another officer who looked like maybe an injury to the leg. We know at least one of those officers was shot. But you are looking live here now as this home, in the aftermath of that police response upon learning an 11-year-old was shot inside this house. Now this home going up in flames and quite rapidly, making it even more difficult to access the scene there for those first responders.
Yeah, and I think as we look at video from a short time ago and you see what the house used to be, you realize that in the span of 22 or perhaps 24 minutes, it is all but gone now. The walls, the exterior walls remain, but everything on the inside is all but gone right now. In just an incredibly intense fire. Again, we don't yet know what started it, but as soon as those officers arrived on the scene in response to the reports of that child shot, they were met by gunfire themselves, immediately retreated. And you see the officers here from several minutes ago behind their own vehicles. This is not a live image right now, but that there is the house. What it used to look like, and by used to, I mean as many as 7 minutes ago, it was heavy smoke, gave way to heavy.
Control of
Let's get a live shot.
Front of the house with their long device that they were able to pull away from. And it looks like Fox 29 is back on the air. Let's go back out to their coverage right here on Live Now from Fox.
We have reports of 2 officers shot along with an 11-year-old girl in some kind of incident that happened here in this house, in this neighborhood. Again, our reports are that 2 officers shot. We do not have an update on their condition. The whole neighborhood looks to be, as you would imagine, taped off, roped off, as crews continue to work this active situation in this neighborhood, Sheba.
The initial report coming in right around 3:45 this afternoon. This is still an active shooter situation here. And this house, which is along Lewis Avenue in East Lansdowne, the fire is out of control because right now the fire department has been held back as the SWAT team is on the ground there. So firefighters can't move in until this active shooter situation has expired here. But again, the 2 officers shot, that has now been confirmed. We have reporters on the way to the scene here and also to Penn Presbyterian Hospital. 2 officers shot, also an 11-year-old girl, as you mentioned, Jason, shot here.
Just kind of try to give you some play-by-play as to what we're seeing here, because this is our best guess as to what is happening in this neighborhood. You see at least a dozen officers there at the bottom of your screen taking a defensive approach. You wonder about the neighbors here. There's a house right there on the right side of your screen and another to the left. So it's sandwiched between 2 houses. Not sure if there are anybody in there, or if police have asked them to evacuate, or maybe for their safety, they're sheltering in place here. They're bringing a vehicle right up to the front porch, it looks like. So SWAT trained for these situations.
Type of vehicle before.
We still don't know how this fire started in the first place. It looked like it started upstairs. The attic was burning, and now the whole second floor looks to be gone. And soon this whole house will be up in flames. But a lot of times, firefighters aren't going to put themselves at risk if there's an active shooter situation. So they're standing by somewhere out of picture, I would imagine, as police work to contain whoever is in there and whoever was firing those shots.
And you have to wonder, amid all of the activity here with the law enforcement, this house, which is pretty much almost burnt to the ground at this point, where the active shooter is, where the suspect is. It's still not clear if the shots came from inside the house or started outside the house. So this is some video from a short time ago, I have to assume here. We don't have the live bug on this. But 2 officers, again, confirmed shot. A scary situation for the neighbors here. It is clear that this whole neighborhood has been cleared out as SWAT, police, you name it, respond to this active shooter situation?
No word on whether the suspect is even alive at this point in there.
Haven't heard anything
the
about
smoke
the girl.
inhalation, the flames, the
shot.
intensity of this fire. It's hard to imagine being able to survive this situation unless he's got a mask or an oxygen situation.
We did hear a short time ago that this could possibly be domestic related, which explains the 11-year-old girl who has been shot here. But again, we're trying to piece all of that information together right now as we track the conditions of the officers and the little girl.
Steve Keeley is at Penn Presbyterian Hospital. He is just arrived. Steve, what can you tell us at this hour?
Yeah, I've been here about 5 minutes, just talked to a detective, and you can see lots of police. And what we see rarely here is the street shut down, which tells you they needed this open and clear. Lots of ambulances coming and going. Remember, this is a multiple victim shooting. And so we've got the police, Philly police, and the University of Pennsylvania police here at 38th and Powelton, shutting down the area around the emergency room. We've seen lots of police coming and going through the emergency doors there, as we always do when fellow officers are shot. And so remember, this is the report that we have an 11-year-old female shooting victim as well. We don't know if she was able to be taken out of the house by those other officers who were shot. And initial reports, an active shooter situation with that house ablaze out in the suburbs in East Lansdowne, not too far from here. When you're coming through the streets with lights and sirens blaring and getting people's help as soon as possible. So lots of police and law enforcement on the scene, lots more arriving since I arrived. And then you can see a SEPTA bus held up with a lot of the other traffic down Powelton Avenue. So first priority is getting people in and out of this emergency room safely without worrying anybody getting hit by a car. Now we're seeing some Philadelphia police higher-ups arriving as well. We can hear sirens in the distance, so lots of activity here always, but in this case, lots of sirens and lots of police from both the Delaware County suburbs and Philadelphia police arriving on the scene. So we'll try to get some information. Nobody's officially talked just yet. As I hear, this looks to be another police vehicle screaming up the street now. We'll stay with this right now and see what this is, but people are still being raced into the hospital here at this scene here. Let's hear it. All right, so the sirens are off, and these police just may be coming to help out. There you go. Upper Darby police officer and a Haverford Township police officer. Again, these Delco officers, that's in another emergency entrance that you can't see behind this wall, and that's where they usually bring in victims on crimes like this. This is what we talk about being scooped. When police arrive here, they built that ramp specifically for Philadelphia police to use so often because they act as ambulances, these police cars. They don't wait for an ambulance to get on the scene, and in case like this, when you have an active shooter, it's not safe for ambulance crews because remember, they're not wearing ballistic vests like police officers are. So a lot of times it's the police officers are the only ones that can go first attend, do some first aid, maybe even some CPR if they have to, and then act as ambulances and get these people into this emergency room as soon as possible. And that may be just what happened just now. Jason, Sheba?
Steve, the initial reports was almost an hour ago here, coming up on about 45 minutes since we initially heard about the standoff and the officer shot and the little girl shot. Is it your understanding from your sources that the officers and the girl, they are there at the hospital right now?
Oh, is the girl okay? That's what people are wondering.
Yeah, that's what we can hope for. So this bulletin came out to the police out in Delco at 3:37, so less than 1 hour ago. And every second, every minute counts when you've got shooting victims. And you can only hope that everybody got into the hands of surgeons and nurses and technicians here at the hospital as soon as possible. And it looks that way, at least from our vantage point. And that's why they had these roads shut down, just so they weren't be sitting in traffic or anything like that, because you've got rush hour traffic here. This is right around the University of Pennsylvania, not just the hospital, but also the school. And so many people live out here right now on the outskirts of the Penn campus that you don't want anybody caught in traffic when police or ambulance crews are trying to get through to the emergency room.
Can you talk about the response on the ground, Steve? We're watching from high above this house, which has been obliterated by fire.
The other house is smoking too?
To the left there, it looks like an armored vehicle. SWAT is very close to the home here. Can you talk about the response on the ground?
Yeah, remember, when you've got an active shooter and a house fire, everybody in Philadelphia will remember the Move fire.
Want to see if they're saying anything.
Immediately met by gunfire. That both of those officers who were hurt arrived here at Penn Presbyterian, and they were conscious and they were alert and they were aware of what is going on.
Trying to put out the fire.
As of right now, this area is completely locked down with Philadelphia police. We have University of Pennsylvania police officers, and of course now some of those boroughs that are coming in to help assist. We have Haverford, we have Upper Darby. So they're directing traffic here. They want to keep this area locked down just in case there are any additional people who are injured that need to arrive here to Penn Presbyterian. But as I mentioned, it looked like some civilians just came in the ambulance entrance. Not sure exactly who they were, potentially people who know these two officers who were injured. But again, they are alert and aware as far as we understand at this time. We're live at Penn Presbyterian. Maggie Kent, Channel 6, Action News. Guys?
Yeah, and Maggie, forgive me if I'm repeating anything you said. We're taking in information from quite a few sources right now, including our producers down the hall.
Sorry.
Those two officers injured, one from Lansdowne, the other from East Lansdowne. And while Maggie was talking, we got reporting from the ground that the back of this home has now collapsed. You can see the roof is gone. And in fact, as we watch live, we're seeing the upper floor, the walls here begin to cave in. But the back portion that you cannot see because it is engulfed in flames. Our reporter on the ground, Becca Hendrickson, telling us that is gone.
And notably here as well, they are finally getting water on this structure for the first time. You can see that they are down at the bottom of your screen, so they must have assurances that the active shooter threat has been subdued at this point. This is the first time they've been able to get any fire equipment close to this in about 40 minutes that this structure has been burning, the single family home here in East Lansdowne. Becca Hendrickson is just about a block away from where this is unfolding. She's got a really good vantage point. Becca, what can you see from where you're standing?
Sarah, as you just said, we've just learned that the back of the house has collapsed due to those heavy flames. I want to give you a look behind me because, as you mentioned just a minute ago, we just saw fire crews start to dump water on this house.
And I don't really know if that kid is in the hospital or not. Somebody said they're not. I didn't mention anything just now, so I don't know.
The flames shooting through the roof. And I do have to mention there is fear that there are people inside of this house. As I said a little bit earlier, I'm told from sources that the police officers who came here for reports of that child shot, they were fired upon as soon as they got here. And those two officers who were told are conscious and alert did see the suspect retreat into the house. Now, there has been no gunfire as far as we know since those initial shots fired, but officers also have not seen anyone else come out of the house. So again, there is fear. There are people inside as we're watching these fire crews really start to dump water on these flames and try to tame this fire, which is, of course, not only a threat to this house as the back of the house has collapsed at this point, but really a threat to this entire neighborhood. Standing back here about a block away, we can see just, this billowing smoke. We can smell some of it. And of course, there are other houses in this neighborhood, too. So crews are working hard here to try to make this situation safer at this point.
Yeah, Becca, a couple things there. One, you're absolutely right to point out the fact that we just don't know who's inside that house. We've been reporting about the child. We've been reporting about the gunman who police say they did see retreat back inside the home. That's not to say there might not be other people who were inside the house at the time. So that obviously a major factor. But also, as we were watching this, it strikes me that the first hose on that home is coming from some distance away. And so even while they are probably safe to presume at this
The person in the chat's there's a lot of people in chat. Somebody had said about having up-to-date information on the fire report. Try DMing me on Instagram. Twitter. You said you're on Twitter. Try DMing me on Twitter.
At that home have found a safe spot
CBS
to
Philly.
hide.
Let's see what's going on, CBS Philly.
I'm also curious to know.
Yeah, Brian, we're just not sure where any of the people are, if anyone is in this house, or where they could be at this point. But from what you're seeing, we're seeing it looks like one hose that's really starting to spray this massive fire.
Okay, we got an overview shot here, CBS Philly. The other thing I'm wondering, because they're saying this is possibly a domestic situation. Another situation of somebody losing their ish, you know what I'm saying? Shoots an 11-year-old. Is there bodies in this house is that person still in the house too? The shooter? Is he I don't know.
He's getting all of the information directly from the officers in that area. We have been watching the scene. Firefighters now spraying the scene with a hose, but of course they have to stay back for their own safety. Yuki, I just looked at Lansdowne Elementary that we have been referencing. Their dismissal is at 3:30, right? So that was as those children are getting out of school. Parents are in that area to pick their kids up from school, which is always a challenge. Of course, this call coming in right around that time. So all of this unfolding as there are several children in that area.
This is where Nick the Hat is going. They consider it still an active shooter, Delaware County, Philadelphia.
We do understand that there is no movement into that area as those rescue crews can't even get to the scene.
Can you imagine going to pick up your child and all of a sudden you hear about a barrage of shots and the house has started to burn? We don't know if there was an explosion or that fire was set, but the police have surrounded this home and they are watching it continue to burn, waiting once again to make their move. And they've already taken out part of the bottom of the house with a SWAT vehicle.
And, you know, we have covered so many situations, unfortunately, breaking news coverage as it's unfolding. And what we're seeing here from Chopper, they're being told to back up for their own safety and to make sure that they can get all the information that police need first. Obviously, they're the priority here. But as you see those houses adjacent to them, firefighters are trained to knock those fires down so they're not impacting the houses that are next door. And if the fire crews can't get in there, or they're here at such a late stage in the game trying to get those flames doused with as much water as possible, this still poses a risk to those homes. And Chopper 3, it looks as though it's on
right there on the left side.
Yes.
It's taken over that home right there, the roof of that home.
Oh yeah, it is. You guys are right.
This would continue to spread because
fire.
those firefighters can't get in there to knock it down. And they are so incredibly good at their job. They can knock these fires down in such, within minutes, and they are unable to do much because they're being told to stay away from that area.
I'm looking at the right side of the house right now. I can't tell if those are firefighters or police officials right there on the right side of the house trying to get in through that part of the home where there are less flames. The main flames seem to be, if that is the front of the house, in front of the house, and they appear to be going through the back, trying to get whoever they are after, if that person or persons is still alive.
And our reporters, our assignment editors, everyone in the newsroom, our producers are working to figure out what is happening, how this fire started after this scene. If you're just tuning in to CBS Philadelphia, a call came in at 3:45 this afternoon that there was a large amount of shots fired. Multiple people had been shot. We do know that 2 officers have been transported to area hospitals. Penn Presbyterian, Mercy Fitzgerald, that is a level 1 trauma center. We may be getting an update on that as well. And no Mercy, all Presby. We are also told that there was an additional victim. No Mercy, all Presby. We are also told that there was an additional victim. We're waiting to hear more on their condition. We've been told that the officers are expected to be okay, which is great news. They're in stable condition.
That's good.
What went down, what the current situation is with the shooter, the suspect, is still unclear. We're working to get that information as well.
As you can see, ground zero, the house is still burning, but on the left side of your screen, the water cannons have basically put out the fire, it looks like, on the house there on the left, which is good news because the flames just took over that home maybe about 5-10 minutes ago, and it was burning quite a bit, but it seems like they have concentrated on that house right now. So that won't continue. You can see a little bit of the flames right now, but they are concentrating on that house with their water cannons.
Additionally, so many crews have mobilized, and I'd love to get Joe Holden back on the phone if he is standing by. Producers, if you can try to reach out to him, that would be great, because Joe has the most updated information as far as what's coming from the officers, why the chopper is being told to remain so far back from this area at this point, about what is being third victim, and could there potentially be more? Joe, are you with us?
Right. Yes, Yuki, yes, I am with you. How about a reset? How about let's talk about what brought us here at this moment. Now, 4:39. This is almost closing in on an hour since calls to 911 went out reporting people hearing a volley of shots fired in their neighborhood. We don't know where that 911 call came from, but we know that it drew a law enforcement response. In the time since, 2 police officers, if you've mentioned, an officer from East Lansdowne, a second officer from Lansdowne, both boroughs right there in the eastern part of Delaware County, both sustaining gunshot wounds, and a third victim described to be a child. There is some back and forth with my sources on the child's age. There's no point in putting out an arbitrary number at this time. I just am not seeing agreement on an age, so we're going to hold off on that. No information on that child's condition. But fast forward the hands of time 50 minutes later, and here we continue to watch this home in a complete fireball with black smoke rising hundreds of feet into the air, visible from all points of West Philadelphia and the suburbs. The fire burning out of control because the firefighters have not been able to really get into position because of the level of danger that police have said exists within this house. Up until the last 5 minutes, my sources were still telling me they were treating this as a barricade situation, but they said it wouldn't be for too much longer because clearly you cannot sustain existence in a structure that is on fire to that degree. You see what appears to be a firefight that is growing a little bit more consistent with what we would expect a fire of this magnitude to be burning. But
and Joe, it looks like they're starting to concentrate on the house that is burning right now, with the cannons now pointed toward that home. So that could be a difference maker in this whole process right now.
And I don't ever want to say that my sources have gone dark, but I will say that in the last 5 minutes,
home, right? They put out the
I'm
address?
not getting information back, which is suggestive of some developments on the ground. I'm also looking at people walking around. I don't see them covered in as much as we saw earlier, huddled behind a SWAT vehicle, literally walking with the tank. I don't see any of that right now. I also did see, as they were trying to prevent a full-on exposure of fire to that other neighboring home, that officers were in the back. It appeared to be a mix of firefighters and SWAT officers trying to access that home. So is this appearing to be a level of, are they thinking things are, or are things under control? We are certainly working hard to get that answer.
Joe, let me ask you this because you're very familiar. You know, there's only so much information that we can get as an investigation is unfolding, right? In this situation, when people are at home and they're watching and there's some concern that whoever may be behind this, right, whoever this suspect may be, is there concern that that person could be...
You email it to me at ikidmel@gmail.com. I had just saw it on one of the news articles. It was public, but for Google Chrome is kind of weird. Like when I have a bunch of tabs open, it starts acting kind of funny, so I don't want to open up a bunch of tabs. I'll have to figure out the issue next time. I don't want to do it now while live.
Be doing.
So I don't want to open up too much stuff.
We're very
Nick is there?
aware that we don't want to be giving or extending any courtesies or upper hand to someone who may be behind why we are all tuned in right now. And the flow of information usually begins in a typical fashion with information on the officers, who they are, who do they work for, they were shot, what's their condition. There's a command post where tactical information then begins to flow from. That includes a mix of SWAT commanders.
Let's look it up. Let me look it up, see who's the homeowner.
Chief,
I don't know if the homeowner's the shooter, but...
the county, 911, Sheriff's Department, all of these folks. And I'll tell you what the chopper is seeing, and my screen is on a slight delay, but that white smoke, it might be just a slight silver lining, but that is usually consistent with when a fire has really undergone a significant amount of water. I'm also speaking with the spokesperson for the William Penn School District. Jessica, to your question about...
This looks like it's burning again, the side of the second. I don't know if they're replaying footage or we're seeing live. I'm going to have to pull up some other ones too to see. It looks like it's live, I guess. But...
with them as well, not only law enforcement, but the community there, and taking into consideration just the way of life here that's been put on a dramatic pause as this house fire continues, and there are at least 3 people wounded from gunfire.
And I'm counting, Joe, maybe at least 2, 3, maybe 4 water cannons on that house right now. They are concentrating on that house, and a lot of smoke can be seen from great distances. Smoke from that fire is actually on our radar, and I'm told it's being It's drifting over West Philadelphia through Delco. If we can bring up Bill Kelly's mic, but Bill, you can tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so the way the radar works is it sweeps around and picks up stuff in the atmosphere. Typically, we're looking at rain, or snow. And in this case, what you're looking at is the smoke that it is indicating. Now, those winds are not very strong out there. We looked around. They're anywhere between about 3 to 6 miles per hour. So a lot of that smoke is going up and then just kind of drifting along. And the winds are generally moving in out of the northwest. And I just looked, that particular smoke plume that the radar's picking up now is all the way down over PHL, essentially. So it really is moving over 95. We have our network of cameras right now. They're kind of scanning around to see. We have our library camera, our camera in Philadelphia. And Ron, let me know if they've come up with anything to see if we can actually see that from some of our different vantage points there. But yeah, that smoke is going to continue to drift. Obviously, it's a tremendous amount of stuff that's in the atmosphere. And that's what you're seeing on the radar because there's nothing else out there. So that's the smoke.
Bill, thank you so much for that perspective. If you are just tuning in right now, it is 4:46. This call came in at 3:45. So we have been over this scene for about an hour. You are looking live now from Chopper 3. This house has been burning for the last hour. Calls came in that multiple shots had been fired and there were a large amount of shots fired. Multiple people had been shot. We do know that 2 police officers, one from Lansdowne, one from East Lansdowne, have been taken to Penn Presbyterian Hospital to be treated. Yes, they are going to be okay. We also know of a 3rd victim. We are working to confirm that victim's age. As for whether the suspect was in the home, whether we were told this was a barricade situation, our crews inside our newsroom are working to get all of that information to you and bring it to you as soon as possible.
And they took quite a while to actually put the water cannons on this house right now. They were standing around, watching it. They had a plan. Now the plan has come to this. They are finally starting to put that fire out. Could that mean something? Joe says he doesn't like to say his sources went dark, but obviously something is going on and hopefully coming to a conclusion. But it is still a very, very active situation as they still try to douse those flames. And
they are now actively getting that house that you see right there that is right next door to the home that's burning. We are also working to figure out, is this a single family dwelling? Is this a duplex? How many people live in that area? To give you some perspective of where we are talking about, I want to give that exact address, the 5800 block of Lewis Avenue, right near Pembroke in Lansdowne. We know there was a school in that area. We're working to find out what's happening with after-school activities, but that school let out at 3:30 minutes before these calls came in to 911 from this situation. So parents in that area trying to pick their students up. We also saw our Kim Hudson, who was on the ground. There were kids riding bikes.
So there's a bunch of names that come under that property. I don't know who's living there, who's not, but all the names pop up as Asian names. I don't know if the homeowners are just renting the house out, or I don't know if those are the actual homeowners, or I don't know if the shooter just walked into that home. Except for one person, all the names are like Asian type of names or whatever. That's what I see.
Took a while, once again, for those water cannons to get in place, but that was all part of the plan, no doubt. That was all part of the plan. Maybe even trying to smoke whoever was in there out. Whether that worked or not remains to be seen. We still have to wait and find out.
I'd love to get back to Carrie Corrado, guys, if it's possible to get out there. I'd love to know what the scene is like at Penn Presbyterian Hospital. That is where we were told the officers had been transported. That is a level 1 trauma center. Carrie, if you can hear me, it looks as though there are several police officers on that scene.
Jessica, I can tell you it's very tense. We're here at Penn Presbyterian Hospital. This is where we are told the 2 officers were taken. We're standing across the street, so we're using our camera to kind of zoom in and see everything. There is a heavy police presence here. Everywhere you look, there's a police cruiser. Now, Penn Police have the road outside of the hospital blocked off. Philly police officers are here too, along with Upper Darby, Haverford Township Police, just to name a few. We are seeing support from all over. We can also see a lot of officers waiting outside the front door. When it comes to the 2 officers who were shot, we are told that one officer is from Lansdowne, the other officer is from East Lansdowne, and we are told, we did just learn that they are in stable condition and they are doing okay. So this is the very latest from the hospital. We are told the Delaware County District Attorney is headed to the hospital. We're also told that the police chiefs for both.
So Airdrie tells me there's a lot of Vietnamese neighborhoods and so Koreans. Okay. Yeah, I don't know the exact, but yeah, I can tell there's that type. That's all the names that I pop up, that's all I see. those types of
possible if we can get our Joe Holden back on the phone. Joe, you have covered so many of these situations, and again, you work very closely as chief investigative reporter with our police in the area. When an officer is involved in a shooting, and we know that an officer is the victim of a gunshot, how is this investigation or the situation at the hospital treated differently?
So right now with the district attorney en route to the hospital, there are certain, let's just say, FOP provisions in their contracts. They work in a certain way where a statement may not be able to be offered for some time. Usually if you're wounded, that is a different scenario. But there are some important particulars that unfold with how any officer who is part of this investigation, whether wounded or in another sort of light, how they become part of the larger matter going forward. The district attorney will likely try to have a conversation to make sure that the officers are okay. Are they awake? Are they talking? Are they in surgery? What is happening inside the emergency room that, certainly at the moment, this is an emergency, the whole thing. Everything is in flux. It's a terrible situation. And so Jack Stolzheimer, en route to Penn Presbyterian Hospital, is also being pressed for information by probably everybody in our newsroom, including me. What is the latest? What do you know? What can we report from your end?
How do you feel?
The investigation then goes from there, starting from that 911 call at 3:45. Somebody heard gunshots. Did a 911 call originate from this house on Lewis Avenue that's burning? My sources tell me the target of their investigation, so the would-be shooter who shot 2 officers and a child, according to my police sources and information we've since confirmed, last known information was that shooter was still in that house.
Wow.
So that information, and coupled with, I'm still working to find out where the child who was shot, where they may be. We're piecing it together, but we want to do so in a very careful and responsible way.
And once again, Joe, we don't know how it all started. They could have been coming to serve a warrant, and it could have been anything. All we know right now, it's an active shooter situation and still being called that until we hear otherwise, correct?
Correct, absolutely.
I forgot which one of the last standouts we covered with this guy, this nut. I think it was I don't know. They wanted to evict him or something. I feel like there's been multiple situations like that, but there was one where the place exploded. Remember that? Wasn't that long ago? The thing went boom, like the whole shit blew up.
Take on the left side of the home. That this is an unsustainable situation. It looks like it's on the first floor now. So we'll wait and see. There's a car on fire. The next door home sustained some fire damage. Not sure what the situation with the fire there is, but this is quite an alarming scenario. We did see a fire engine finally able to come down the street as they are now putting more water on this burning house.
And Joe, that could have been part of their game plan, just to let it burn, to see if anyone's in there, for them to come out or for them to perish.
If you guys could help me out with the like button, please.
Quite a dramatic situation unfolding as we're walking.
Up the video spread out there.
As we're getting information, it's all a process. And as
let me see what Nick is saying. He's out there live. Nick the Hat. I think he's just kind of standing out there. All right, we'll check back a little later with that.
Works. Source information is just like any other relationship. It's built on trust. And we want to make sure that what we're passing along to our viewers is as sacred as we can get it to be.
Sure, especially when victims and involving our police officers.
No doubt.
Joe, let me ask you this too. You sent me an interesting photo showing how far our chopper is being told to stay back from the scene. And it looks from our vantage point, looking at our monitor here in the studio, it looks as though they're so close, but they are using a very long lens to capture this footage. What can you tell us and tell our viewers at home as to why it is so important that they stay out of the way of police helicopters or anyone who's trying to get information to the crews on the ground?
So the choppers and choppers of other TV stations are all doing what is like a centric rotation around this scene. and they are back a considerable distance. Right now, I'm looking at our flight tracker, and our chopper is about northeast of the location, flying at an altitude of 1,800 feet and climbing. And so they're in this particular pattern or formation so that they're not interfering with operations on the ground, not giving any information to someone who may be watching who is involved in trying to elude or get away from the police. And we are in regular contact. Our assignment desk will hear from 911 or the district attorney's office if they believe we're, in a way, in unbalancing the situation where we're taking it and possibly putting somebody in danger. That's not our goal. Our goal is to give information. And to the question about the chopper, as I'm watching it right now, they're at 1,900 feet.
Wow.
And that is also because of other, police choppers in the area. It would not be unusual for Philadelphia police to lend TAC 1, which is the name of their helicopter that provides aerial support. So there are numerous things in play as to why, when a situation like this is covered, why we're not only sensitive, we're working with so many different layers of sources and information and 911 to make sure that we're not interfering.
Joe, when it comes to information about the neighborhood, have you gathered any information about evacuations in that area? Because a source has reached out to me and said the house that was burning right next door, they did have to take people out of there as soon as they could. Some of those people, they left. Whoever was in that house has been taken out. But have you gotten any word about any evacuations?
I haven't, and that's a great question, and it's an important point.
Rent is crazy, man. Rent, mortgage, everything's nuts. People burning shit down, killing people over it. This guy must have had, I don't know, I guess mental health again, I guess.
My sources information suggesting that the way that officers flooded this area, it was already too dangerous to make a run for it out of homes.
Right. The initial call was about the 11-year-old girl that was shot. Yep.
Hunkered down, given how dangerous the unfolding series of events, including the gunfire, the officers wounded, third person wounded, who we are told is a child, and then the fire. So it's how do things line up? We are trying to figure that out. And in deference to the law enforcement agencies such as Lansdowne and East Lansdowne, both with an officer now off duty and suffering from a gunshot wound, at least one that we know of.
There's also radio dispatch. I don't know if you guys want to, I don't think that we can listen to both the newscast and the dispatch. We could listen, let's listen to a little bit of the dispatch. I don't know what you guys exactly want. Let's listen to a little bit because we've been hearing the same thing kind of repeat. Let's listen a little bit.
Why choose a Sleep Number Smart?
Oh, I got to sign in apparently. I have an account. Let me sign in.
All flow from Penn Presbyterian Hospital once Jack Stolzheimer is ready to speak.
And Joe, we're going to check back with you in just a little bit as we look at white smoke coming from the house that has been burning. Some more former firefighter friends of mine always used to remind me, when you start to see the white smoke, that means they are slowly getting a handle. It's not black any longer. They're slowly getting a handle on this fire. So once again, this could possibly be coming to some sort of conclusion. Where it leads, we do not know.
Look like a dog running over here in the middle path. Is that a dog? Let that dog just run up. This house is burnt to a crisp, and the second one almost started catching on fire too. As far as they've been reporting, this guy was last seen inside. I don't know if he just went out with the place, burned himself down. I don't know did he shoot himself or what?
On CBS News Philadelphia, an active shooter situation playing out in East Lansdowne, Delaware County. At least 2 police officers have been shot in all this chaos.
At the top of the hour, let's recap this situation for you. This all started at 3:45. You are looking live. This is the area right around Lewis Avenue, just off of Baltimore Avenue, right near the Fernwood Cemetery near Lansdowne. We are able to confirm that 2 police officers have been shot, one from Lansdowne, one from East Lansdowne. They have both been taken to the Level 1 Trauma Center at Penn Presbyterian Hospital. The good news, Our sources in the newsroom have learned that both are expected to be okay. Firefighters are able to be on the scene now. They had been told to stay away for their own safety to knock down that fire. It's still unclear. We are working to figure out how this fire started and how this entire situation unfolded.
We've got some information now from the Delco DA, and when it comes to the 2 officers who were shot during this chaos, we're told once again they are in stable condition and appear to be okay, but one was shot in the leg, the other was shot in the arm. And CBS Philadelphia reporter Kim Hudson is at the scene right now to give us more information on what's going on right now. Kim?
Well, Yuki, chaos is not even the word to describe what's going on right now. I'll step out of the way. Right now, we are on Penn Boulevard near Baltimore Avenue, and now the middle of this street has been shut down. Clifton Fire Department as well as Lansdowne Fire Department, they asked neighbors to move out of the street so that they could back 2 fire engines, or 1 fire engine, but there's another one standing by. But they backed one into an alley between 2 houses here. They used a saw to cut down the fence that is between this block and the block where the first house burned, and then that fire had spread to the second house. Earlier, we just saw drama unfold as officers and sheriff's deputies, they were doing everything that they could to kick in a door to the second house to make sure that they could get inside. Also, right now, we have officers. They are also going up the street as well. They are kind of jogging. We're not exactly sure why. We're not exactly sure where they're going, but we do know that now officers have been called in to move neighbors out of the street so that they can get a little closer to this fire to try to fight it. They are pulling lines, they're pulling hoses right now, and they are moving toward the houses that are on fire right now. Again, this is a neighborhood that residents have described as quiet. They say families live here. There are lots of children out here. This is a diverse neighborhood. They say that everyone gets along here. It's very quiet. And they say it is just tragic that something like this could happen here. If you live in this area, I strongly recommend, because traffic is a nightmare right now, that you wait a little while before you come home, because several streets are blocked off in the area. Back to you.
Kim, just out of curiosity, of the neighbors that you have talked to, you talked to 2 earlier, and I'm sure there's some still out on the street very curious. Has anyone even given any inkling about who may have lived in this home?
I specifically asked 2 sets of neighbors if they knew who lived in the home, and they said that they did not. So definitely the neighborhood everyone's getting along here. Everybody's close knit. They're talking to each other, but they have not been able to tell me exactly who lived in that house.
It was a single family home, 3 bedrooms. Again, the house next door, very close. Firefighters were able to knock those flames down in time to make sure that everyone at the house next door was safe. Also, Kim, thank you for your coverage. 3:30 is when Lansdowne Elementary School gets out. This call came in right around 3:45 today, right as kids were getting out. Parents were picking them up. Students had after-school activities planned. So quite a scene for them.
There's Jack Stolzheimer right now on the scene, getting as much information as he can. I'm sure he will be passing that on to us as soon as he gets it. But you can see he's walking with quite a bit of pace right now. So it appears that he may have some information. We'll stand by for that. But in the meantime, our live breaking coverage continues. I believe we want to check in with CBS News Philadelphia reporter Carrie Corrado. She's at Penn Presby. Carrie?
Yuki, that's right. We did learn that the officers are okay. At first here at Penn Presbyterian Hospital, it was very tense, but we are feeling that sense of relief knowing the officers are recovering. So we are standing right across the street. And in the last 10 minutes, the police chiefs for the injured officers just arrived at the hospital. There is a heavy police presence here. Everywhere you look, there is a police cruiser. Penn police have the road outside the hospital blocked off. Philly police officers are here too, along with Upper Darby and Haverford Township Police. We are seeing support from all over. We can also see a lot of officers waiting outside the front door. So when it comes to the 2 officers that were shot, we are told one officer is from Lansdowne. The other officer is from East Lansdowne. We learned they are in stable condition. So that's the very latest from the hospital. We are told the Delaware County District Attorney is headed to the hospital too. We are told we will get an update shortly from officials. So this is all developing. There's a lot of moving parts here at Penn Presbyterian Hospital. Again, we are told those 2 officers are recovering inside, and we are awaiting an update. I'll send it back to you.
That's good news. Okay, Carrie, you stand by. We will get back to you.
All right, we're going to go now to Chief Investigative Reporter Joe Holden, who has been on this scene from the beginning. Joe, what can you tell us about the very latest situation, especially for those who are just getting home and just tuning into our coverage? And also, what do we know that is confirmed about that 3rd victim?
Yeah, so if you're watching, if you're just tuning in, if you've been with us, we are going through all of the jumping through hoops here and making sure we've reached out to everybody and anybody who may have some information for us concerning this situation. I'm texting now the head of the county's 911 system to figure out, to pinpoint exactly what was the nature of that first phone call that went into 911. Was it that someone heard shots, or did it originate from inside the house? I'm beginning to get some information that prompted me to reach out to try to make some head or tail of that detail. It's an important one because it would then describe, were officers already there, or did something happen that the 911 called through initial responding officers? East Lansdowne and Lansdowne are near, there's such small communities, it's not unusual for both departments to call. Can I continue?
Yes, please do. There was a shot from Chopper. Go ahead, Joe.
Indeed. So, and then this element of the fire after the officers were shot and the 3rd victim also shot. I have to tell you, I'm having a hard time pinning down the age of that gunshot victim. Also, the person was characterized to be a child. We do not know the location of that child. Yeah. There were only 2 transports from that scene, according to my sources. So we are working hard to figure that out.
Wait, did he just say there was only 2 people transported to the hospital?
Back to me with some information, but there are no answers when it comes to the 3rd gunshot victim described to be a child.
Joe, what can you tell? We've certainly covered enough of these situations now that most of that home has burned out. When it goes to investigating how this scene unfolded, so much of that evidence, right? Knobs, switches, any tools inside that would help them determine exactly how this all played out have now burned. So how difficult is this going to be for investigators to figure out what exactly went down here?
Well, and of course, first, you'd have to think that the officers who were shot were here pretty fast. Do they have body cameras on them? And has that video been downloaded yet? While what was physically available in that, what was standing in that home just an hour ago, clearly gone, there's other ways to acquire evidence. Ring doorbell cameras, possibly across the street or next door. They're good for not only visuals, but they also have audio, also other surveillance systems, perhaps some older technology. I've worked that neighborhood. I've been there for other incidents. I'll tell you, not only do police go searching for video, so do TV reporters to try to get a handle and the best angle on what happened. So there is certainly...
I was trying to find more video feeds and stuff. I was looking at this thing here. It doesn't let you rewind?
They responded and they immediately took gunfire from the house. Somebody shot at them. 2 officers have been injured. My understanding is they are going to be okay. They're in stable condition, but we're saying our prayers for them right now. Everybody in Delaware County should be praying for these 2 officers who ran towards fire when everybody else can run away from it. As you can see right now, every agency in Delaware County is out here responding to the scene. The individual inside set fire to the house, and it's been burning for quite a while now. They are putting the fire under control, and then we're going to deal with whether or not the shooter is still alive inside the house. So it's still an active crime scene. There's a lot still going on out here. I'm heading over to the hospital to see these 2 officers and to offer them my prayers and my thanks for what they've done.
I mean, this, do you know anything about the 11-year-old? Do you know how she's doing? Have you been?
We had no idea if there even is an 11-year-old. All we know is that there was a call that was the call they were responding to.
So it could have been a trap, is what you...
It could be. We have no evidence right now that it was or it wasn't. All I know is that the officers were responding to that call to our 911 center. That is, as they came to the scene, they immediately were shot at by somebody from inside the house. So we've got no independent knowledge whether or not there is an 11-year-old, was an 11-year-old shot, who was inside the house. So all that is to be determined because somebody set fire to the house. The shots have now stopped. The fire has largely burned out the house, and we're at the point now where officers are not only just taking control of the fire, but they're going to go in and make entry and try to stabilize the situation and find out the exact questions you're asking. Who was inside? Was there an 11-year-old girl? And if so, what happened?
You don't know anything about the person who was in there or anything like that?
Nothing.
Correct?
Nothing at this point. We're still trying to get inside the house to find out what happened. The house is largely burned out. I don't know if the person has burned himself to death. We don't know. All we know is that it's been burning for quite a while. It's largely burnt out. Police officers and fire department are here on scene. They're heroically putting that fire out, then to do the next phase of this, which is to go inside the house and see what happened.
I mean, Jack, we were all here for a news conference about a deadly shooting involving two 15-year-olds. And not 30 minutes later, this happened. When you heard this, I mean, just tell me what was going through your mind.
It's incredible. The level of violence that can happen in our communities because of gunfire and guns in the hands of the wrong people is just out of control. You're right. We were just together a couple hours ago talking about one 15-year-old who killed another 15-year-old with a ghost gun. And now we've got officers trying to respond to a call, which is an emergency call, and they take gunfire. That's just horrendous. That should not happen in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. So we've got to, as a society, deal with these problems. We as a law enforcement community are dealing with the situation at hand and making sure that our guys who run towards danger so the rest of us can run away are given the best care possible. So please, everyone, just pray for these two officers. I understand they're in stable condition, but I want to see them firsthand.
And that's where you're going right now?
Heading right now to the hospital.
Okay. And just, I know you're in a rush here. Do you know if the 911 call originated from the house that caught fire?
We don't know that. We do know an individual called, and from what I'm told, there was gunfire in the background that the 911 caller thought they heard. So it was an emergency call, and appropriately so, these officers immediately responded, came to the house, and were going to be ready to deal with the situation. My understanding, again, gunfire came directly at them. That's when they were hurt. Other officers responded. Delaware County, you can look here and you'll see every department in Delaware County represented here today. Everybody comes when somebody is in danger, and we're proud of our law enforcement community and the work they do.
All right, Jack, thanks. I know you need to get to the hospital. Thank you for talking to us. You just heard from the district attorney here in Delaware County, Jack Stolzheimer. I just saw him walking away from the scene, was able to talk to him. Rick Shari, that is the latest. We've gotten a lot of new information coming out of that.
Yeah, that was very helpful information in regards to how the call first came in. Not really clear then exactly who placed the call, but the 911 operator could hear gunfire in the background.
Yeah, and we know now that this was a case of arson as that crime scene continues to unfold. Let's go to Action News reporter Andy McCormick, who is live at the hospital where the two officers were taken. And Andy, what's the latest from there?
Well, like we just heard from the district attorney, Jack Stolzheimer, he's talking about how they're both in
hospital blocked off. Philly police officers are here along with Upper Darby, Haverford.
Let me see what Nick is saying. He's on the scene. Not really doing that much.
Never want to show kids.
So they're saying the kid thing could have been fake. The 11-year-old or however old.
So let's head up.
It could have been a setup.
This way.
Yeah, they had to put some fuel in Philly helicopters. You hear them flying around, though. How many times are they going to update the hospital shit? They said they're okay, didn't they?
Yeah. And of course, if there are any locals that are watching, as always, feel free to send a DM to one of the mods.
Injured 11-year-old at this time. So we're expecting to hear more hopefully within the next 20 minutes or so. For now, reporting live outside of Penn. Right now, you heard the DA say that they're not sure if there was even an injured 11-year-old at this.
What has now unfolded at the home there. Okay, Annie, thanks.
Thank you, Annie. All right, 14 minutes after the hour. Again, we are continuing to follow this breaking news story from East Lansdowne. Action News has been...
The PSYOP. They're saying it possibly not even a kid that was shot. What the heck? it was an AI 11-year-old. What the? How would this guy set it up? So what? I guess. And then they said the operator heard shots in the background. Could he like be on the phone and hold the gun like, papa, I need help? Like, could he like,
somebody says they were responding to a call, and that's coming from a comment on YouTube, guys. So I'm waiting. I'm sure I have updates, but I can't switch screens right now. So we're going to stay on this. And thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, man.
So local news that's here right now is Channel 6, WPVI, Philadelphia. And Fox 29 is interviewing a child over in the driveway here. But I'm going to wait for them to finish before we get a better shot of
what police are doing, what firefighters are doing to...
So those are the two networks that I saw here right now. And you guys can see, look at the helicopter trying to...
Is that stream disconnected? Oh. Why did I say stream has disconnected? Oh, that was 2 hours ago. Oh, snap. Okay, I thought it disconnected right now. I'm about to say... I was saying horrible timing.
Yeah.
Check me out. On YouTube
no, I'm saying that maybe the shooter.
I'll follow you. Follow me with yours?
Nick the Hat.
Nick the Hat?
Yeah.
Right here.
Sounds good. I'll follow you. I will. Thank you. Philly Celeb Films. Shout out to our...
Nice. Let's listen a little bit to the scanner. I'm going to put the news on, but let's what's going on in the scanner. Anything going on there? Nothing on the scanner.
And of course, as we're looking at the smoke, we can see how drastically it's changed over the past hour and a half. As it was, everything was on fire. It was dark smoke coming out of there. The back of the house was collapsing. Cars were on fire. Nearby structures started to come on fire. And at this point, firefighters continue to dump water on it, trying to get this fire out. Again, hopefully, we are told we're going to be talking to the chief and the district attorney again soon. And we'll try to bring more information as we learn it from that.
Is Baltimore Avenue, which is about a block and a half away from the house in question. And we know since then, officers taken to the hospital, prosecutors now mobilizing to begin their investigation with interviews and well wishes. Let's not forget the human aspect of this. The district attorney is going to walk into the ER and look at one of the officers who he's most likely familiar with and say, "I'm glad you're okay," perhaps. But that there is a human angle to all of this as well. Lots of lives are disrupted. You heard in Kim Hudson's report, there are some neighbors who are sounding frustrated. They want to know what's going on, what is happening, why is our neighborhood basically now a militarized zone with police and firefighters. We watched the house for about an hour literally disintegrate, burn to the ground. After the fire department was able to get in, it was too late. It appears they were able to save the neighboring house from where fire was beginning to burn in the eaves of that structure. And then there was a car off to the side of the home also on fire. It's a two-story home with an attic. It is unknown where the shooter...
The only thing that's annoying is I feel like they're replaying the clips of the fire. Yeah, this is a replay too. So you can't even find a actual video. I guess I don't know if the choppers left. I keep hearing choppers in Nick's feed.
Which we are tracing back to a 911 call around 3:45. There were no further reports of any gunfire, either coming from officers
feeds that to me. The dispatch
coming from the house.
Interesting.
So, no exchange of gunfire since the very early stages of this emergency. And we also are aware of no heard over a loudspeaker commands from police, give yourself up, surrender. There was none of that. So police sources, they have sort of pulled back in chatting with me. Clearly the investigation is in earnest, but the last confirmed information from multiple sources, this was still being treated as a barricade situation, even though now that house is clearly leveled.
Joe, I had asked Carrie if we knew anything about the situation at the ER, that because they're not letting traffic in, if emergency calls are being diverted to other locations and any patient that needs emergency services is not being transported to another hospital. She said all of this they're waiting to hear from Stolzheimer, from the DA, because they can't release any of this information right now. That's pretty much standard or par for the course here.
It is par for the course, and I know from years of working with Philly 911, and I started on the assignment desk many years ago, that there's a simple divert. If they can't get traffic easily into one, it's a matter of just a different direction. You have Jefferson in Center City, you have Temple in North Philadelphia, even for Delaware County, Crozer-Chester Hospital is also a trauma center. So there are options. There's, Blankenall, right, in Lower Merion Township. So all of these hospitals can bear the weight of traffic, of volume, of calls for people who need help. Fortunately, we live in a city where it's not just a place like Penn Presbyterian that would accept serious emergency cases of a level 1 trauma need.
Sure.
Joe, we thank you. We're going to get back to you in just a little bit. But once again, an active shooter situation, a house fire, 2 officers shot. They are stable. Tension, chaos has brought a small community to a standstill. Let's get more in the community right now. And the neighborhood, I believe our Kim Hudson is standing by with the very latest from that area of Delco. Kim?
Yuki, we are still here on Penn Boulevard near Baltimore Avenue. We still have firefighters here in this alley. They are very near the house that's burning on Lewis. Again, we have a lot of family and friends out here, neighbors who are here trying to figure out what is going on. They're talking amongst themselves about what they have seen, and then also just bouncing back and forth questions. They're very concerned about that initial report of a child, but CBS News Philadelphia videographer Casey Kuhn, he actually saw Delaware County District Attorney Jack Stolzheimer walking earlier, and he got some video. We're working on sending that in right now, where he asked him about that child, and Jack Stolzheimer said that he has not heard any other confirmed reports of a child being involved, that came in initially, but they are still trying to chase down exactly where that report came from. But so is everyone here. Everyone is very concerned about anybody who might have been in that house. A lot of people were frustrated, not understanding why it is this fire was not put out sooner. They just did not understand that police were trying to make sure that the scene was safe for firefighters before they could move in. However, that understanding seems to be moving kind of like a wave down Penn Boulevard here as everyone is starting to calm down. I think everyone is just relieved that firefighters are finally on the scene. I think that they are understanding that the scene, at least at this point, seems to be a little safer for the community. I was speaking with a neighbor earlier, and she said it is a shame that this is happening here because it's normally a quiet neighborhood. She said nothing like that happens here. And she is concerned about the impact to the families, especially all the children who are here watching this happen. There are helicopters overhead. There are 2 houses that are still being extinguished right now. Streets are still blocked off. A lot of houses here. And it's rush hour. It's time to go home. If you are not here at home here on Penn Boulevard, Lewis, Baltimore Avenue, if you're not home yet, if you have not left work yet, give it a little while, because again, traffic is a mess here. No one is being allowed to drive up or down Penn Boulevard. There were even some people trying to leave and to turn onto Baltimore Avenue earlier. They were stopped. There's police caution tape. It is being strung around parked cars here. No one is being allowed to enter or leave, not by vehicle at all. Also, as you guys can see, we have a huge police presence going all the way up the street. We have an ambulance on standby here. We have police officers here. Clifton Heights Fire as well as Lansdowne Fire, they are both here. We have a lot of people just wondering again, what is going on? So again, we will do everything we can here at CBS News Philadelphia to get the latest information and pass it on to you as it becomes available. And back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much for that. And we backed up what the DA said, what you said, DA Stolzheimer said when it came to the possibility of a young person being shot. A 911 call of a report of a child being shot There was a call. There's no evidence, though. There's no evidence that a child has been shot at this point. What we do know is 2 police officers were shot immediately after going to that house, after that 911 call. So I'm sure DA Stolzheimer will continue to talk about this situation once he holds his news conference.
And of course, that call came in at 3:45. The call to 911 reported a large amount of shots fired and that multiple people had been shot. So again, we're still trying to confirm the latest with the suspect or suspects. Our crews in the newsroom, the reporters, photographers, producers, everyone is trying to get you the most accurate information possible. If you are just tuning in right now, you see that smoke billowing. That fire was burning out of control in this home because fire crews were not allowed to get near that scene because it was, as Joe had confirmed, an active barricade situation. As of now, that barricade situation has not been called off. We are still waiting to hear what is going on inside of that home. Who was inside the home when it started to burn? Was the suspect in there? Could there have been additional officers in there? We are trying to get you all of this information. Kim said there are so many questions. We have questions here inside the CBS Philadelphia newsroom. You're looking live at Presbyterian Hospital, where, as you see, there is a very heavy police presence. And now we're looking at a shot of the home. Yuki, we watched that house collapse. This was a single family home, a 3-bedroom home right next door to a duplex, which also firefighters had to watch that very closely to make sure that that fire did not spread.
No, I am not sure what we're watching on the left side of your screen, but in situations like this in the past,
we're waiting for the
families are notified. I'm not sure if those are family members or not, but once again, if they are,
I wonder if if and when they're gonna release a name, some of the background. I stepped away for 1 minute. 1,000 people gone. Like, he's not here.
Under 2 hours ago, both officers were removed by police and taken to the hospital, which is when smoke started coming from the home.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just waiting for some official update. And I mean, of course, whenever they release the person's name, I'm just kind of curious who, what, why, what's the background, what's their issue, and is there really an 11-year-old, or was this just all a setup?
Recovery. Do they have ahead of them? Were they shot anywhere else? Were they wearing bulletproof vests, ballistic vests that prevented them from being more severely injured? We're still waiting on those details. Steve, thank you. We want to go out to Chris O'Connell right now. He's still in the neighborhood, very close to this house that has been on fire for more than an hour now. That house where those 2 police officers were gunned down, and he's talking with neighbors. Chris.
Hi, Sheeb and Jason. Yeah, we're about a block away. We're on Wildwood Avenue. We're actually in the backyard of another home. They were gracious enough to allow us to stand here and get some vantage points of this fire. We're about a block away. You could see the heavy, thick smoke still billowing from that home on Lewis Avenue. All started this afternoon when eyewitnesses tell me they saw police officers show up to that home. When they arrived to that home, they saw and heard gunfire. One of officers was shot. One of these fellow officers was dragged to the back of the house as the others took a defensive tactical position on the home. And then shortly after, that's what you saw. Smoke started billowing from the house, and fire started destroying this entire home. Where the shooter is at this point, it is not clear. This call started as an apparent domestic for an 11-year-old girl who was shot. When police got here, they never got inside. So right now, they're not sure if there was ever any kind of juvenile victim or where that victim is. And they're also not sure where the suspected shooter is at this point. I can tell you that I spoke with a number of eyewitnesses here, one of them being a 9-year-old child who was in a daycare right next door or very nearby.
Well, maybe after school,
and he came out of that daycare and he saw a police response, heavy police response with tactical gear and shields, he told me. And he actually told me that he ran back. This 9-year-old went back into his own daycare and asked the teacher and his fellow students for a lockdown. Hear from him right now.
Oh, that's the interview.
So we was getting back from my school. It was Vision Academy, if you know what it is. Then my teacher that was dropping us off, we saw the police and over there. We saw the police, and then we witnessed it. And then I went to my friends inside the daycare to tell them what happened, and I told them to get on lockdown, but they didn't listen to me. Then my daycare teacher told them to get on lockdown.
Why are you outside by yourself, though?
What did you see?
I saw.
Did you see someone shooting?
Who let
So
you
I
out?
saw like a police officer.
So I'll be asking
there was a
if I was
lot
a
of
parent.
police officer, and then he got mad because they was holding down the thing. And then there was a police officer with a shield, and then a gun, and then that's how we witnessed it. And then our teacher told them to told us to run to the building and get on lockdown.
And right after that, I asked the little boy what he did and how he protected his other classmates. He said, we sat and we prayed. So luckily that daycare, that little boy is okay. But a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of rattled nerves here in the Lansdowne neighborhood. As you see behind me, that home continues to burn. Just what happened in that home remains to be seen tonight.
Yeah, I'm getting reports that that smoke can be seen from miles away. That's how, this house was on fire for a good hour. So, at this time of day, you can see that smoke maybe even creating a little haze over Delco in some areas. Thank you, Chris.
And then the concern also turns to the air quality in the area. What a cutie pie that you interviewed there, Chris. Thank you for bringing us his story, little Superman out there in East Lansdowne.
They're lucky to have him, that's for sure. This is earlier today. Just want to be clear. This was earlier as our Skyfox had to gas up and is going to end up going back to the scene here. As soon as we can bring that to you, we will. So Chris's picture gave us a good idea of the smoldering going on, but this is the peak of it. And at that time, officers were next door. They were huddled up together behind a shield to try to shield themselves from potential gunshots, taking a defensive approach. At this point, no water was on the house. At this point, we didn't even know if a suspect was still in there, still firing shots. At some point, that stopped. And we're still waiting to hear if the suspect survived or is he dead inside that house. We'll find out shortly. Jack Stolzheimer is, you'd think, about minutes away from briefing us, the media. But we did speak to him exclusively, our Kelly Rule, one-on-one with the DA in Delaware County. And this is what he had to say.
We've got police chiefs on scene who are also firemen, so we're making sure that the fire is largely contained at this point. But again, I'm not a fireman. I don't want to make any judgments about that. They're doing the best they can, but they're also making sure that both the firemen and the police officers who are on scene are safe. This is Delaware County at its best. It is a community. Everybody provides mutual aid whenever there is an emergency, so everybody jumped, including my detectives. We're all on scene here making sure that the situation is stable, and then we're going to make sure that the officers are okay.
The DA talking about mutual aid, and we have since learned that the two police officers that responded to this initial report of an 11-year-old girl shot at this home in East Lansdowne along Lewis Avenue, one worked for East Lansdowne Police.
Okay, this looks like a more up-to-date.
To the evening hour. Becca.
Feed. That's what the house looks like right now.
Rick,
Yeah, the
we
house
are
is
still watching as police and
smoldering.
firefighters continue to put this fire out.
I don't know how the hell that guy could be in there alive unless somebody said like he got a mask. What I'm curious too is if like he had killed other people or something, or the family, whoever's in there residing, and he's just hoping it gets burnt up or something. Just take everybody out.
Is mostly out at this point, but as for what is inside that home is unknown, and it could be it. We just don't know at this point what that could be, because when that fire started, it was minutes after we're told that suspect fired on police and went back into the house. So we don't know if that suspect ever made it out. We don't know the status of that 11-year-old who was initially a part of this. Was the initial call was for shooting of an 11-year-old. So this crime scene is one that police are going to have to process, and it's one that first responders and police from all over Delaware County are focusing on right now. I do know that the police chief and the district attorney were on their way over to Penn Presbyterian, or they just arrived, hoping to get a updated status on those police officers. officers and give us some more information soon, and then they'll come back here to the scene as we still process all of this information. But you can see just how astounding this is, just how many different pieces of apparatus, how many different police and firefighters we have here from all over the county. That smoke still high in the air. A lot of these neighbors still concerned, that people trying to figure out exactly what happened. Yeah,
that's what I want to see, some live feed. This thing is torn up. Oof. Nothing blew up either. Wow. They're gonna have to, I wonder how long it's gonna take until they can actually even go inside and look. And I don't know, clear this place, safely check this place out. I think it's 3 levels, right? I think they were saying it's like a 3-level place. I mean, there could have been multiple families living in there. Firefighters coming out of the other house. This kind of just damaged the house next to it as well. Firefighters coming in and out of the next house there. Dang, bro. Imagine you live in this neighborhood. Hate to be living in this neighborhood. They said when all this white smoke is coming out, it's like when the fire is pretty much done or going away. I don't know. Oh, look, there's a little bit of fire down here too, though. Is a car on fire? Oh, hell nah. Oh, something under there looked like it was on fire. I'm about to say.
Situation than there was maybe an hour and a half ago.
I would agree with that, Rick. And part of the reason why, from what we've seen, a couple of the police and first responders that were here, that were filling up this block of Lewis Avenue, you can see even it looks a little more empty right now. A couple of those cars were able to pull away. We've also seen some of the officers who were initially up at that house on 58 Lewis Avenue. Some of them have been able to walk away as well, a little more casually. Not like, of course, when we first got here, when we saw all of those sirens blaring, all of those people screaming into the scene. So a much different type of attitude on the scene here now. And that's displayed too, just in the fact that firefighters were able to start dumping water on this fire. There was a threat here for a long time, and there still could be, of course, with the fire, but the other threat was the active shooter who retreated into the house. So emergency services had to figure a lot of that out. If it were safe to start dumping water on that house, who exactly could have been in that house, and if more first responders were going to be put in danger responding to this house, since as soon as those 2 initial police officers got here, they were immediately shot at.
And it appears, Beck, as we are taking a live look from the aerial and from the ground.
The hospital thing was one news station that put that out for the child, but that's not true. The only people that went to the hospital were 2 officers. And so this other person just spoke now on TV and said that they're not even sure that actually was an 11-year-old or a child. There was a 911 call. Whoever was on the 911 call said there was a child, but they never found no child. And there were shots in the background. They think that call was a trick to lure the cops there, because once the cops came responding for the 11-year-old, they got shot at. So it might have been the psychopath.
In the last maybe 30 minutes or so, we've seen a lot of officers leaving the area. A lot of the outside agencies seem to be leaving the area. I'll step out of the way. You can still see some still going in, but we just saw a neighbor come out. Well, I guess I can't call her a neighbor. She was visiting her neighbor who lives right by where the shooting happened. So we stopped and talked with her. She said that they were unloading groceries and they started to hear the gunshots. That's when the officers arrived and more gunfire. They did not know what to do. They all ran inside and they stayed put. They have stayed there until just about 5 minutes ago, when officers said it was safe for them to get out of their house and leave the area. She said she was frightened the entire time. She didn't know who was shooting. All she knew was she kept hearing gunshots and she needed to get to safety. She just was allowed to leave the area, which is telling me that this is under control. This is a secure scene. They're letting neighbors out. In fact, I've actually seen some people starting to walk down, some civilians walking over that way. And it looks like there might even be a neighbor out on her porch now. Maybe I can see if I can make my way down there and talk to her. But that visitor leaving the area, she just wanted to go home. She had been staying put for, 2 hours or so. She was just able to leave in the last couple of minutes. Sorry, Rick.
All right. John, thank you. We should mention that we're waiting a news conference to take place at the hospital where the two officers were transported. They are hospitalized at this hour, both recovering from their wounds at this scene. As we continue to look live from above the situation, more information coming our way, but when those news conferences gets underway at the Penn Presbyterian Hospital, we will take that to you. But in the meantime, again, an army of fire crews still at the scene, tackling what was an inferno at this home here on Lewis Avenue. As we've been hearing from our reporters, the situation a lot calmer than it was just in about an hour and 40 minutes ago. But again, so many questions that need to be answered, and specifically the status of that active shooter that kind of started this whole drama. We want to hear from a neighbor who was here at the scene on this street when we first arrived, and just some of the sentiments from the people who lived here earlier this afternoon. Let's take a listen to that.
I just saw a lot of gunshots, heard a lot of gunshots as I just came from the store. And then I smelled the smoke like 10 minutes later, and I just seen cops from everywhere, coming from everywhere, running in their vest and everything. I heard yelling, active shooter, get in the house, barricade, don't come out.
That's what the cops were saying?
Active shooter, get in the house. I did see one out.
Was captioned our reporting that Jack Stolzheimer was seen walking very quickly, and yet he took a moment to stop and give a very brief analysis or statement of his understanding of what happened. Now, he's likely been on the phone, like we've been, all afternoon, trying to learn the sequence of events and who interacted with who and what got us here and where did we go next, right? It's life. And so the district attorney, consulting with chiefs on the scene and investigators, fire investigators, this is now a possible case. It could be a possible case of either arson. We don't know how this fire began just yet.
Somebody inside? Nobody's
but
dead?
there is
gotta be somebody.
enough
I shot at the cops.
Information with the audio that the district attorney provided us, and hopefully we can turn that around to give us a sort of an understanding of where he's coming from, suggesting that there are so many questions. Their questions are almost a mirror appearance of ours. Just trying to get through this equation and come out with the right answer.
And Joe, as night begins to fall on the Delaware Valley and tri-state area, we're looking live at pictures of a house that is probably maybe 1/3 of it is still standing, if that. The fire seems to be just about out because of the white smoke, and the firefighters have their flashlights out now as the search continues for whatever they are looking for, maybe a person, maybe more evidence, but the firefighters are definitely going through their process of bringing this all to a conclusion, the firefighters and the police officers, as night descends on the Delaware Valley.
And Joe, we're also watching from, I don't know if you can see this shot that we're looking at, but we're looking at firefighters who are on the home right next door. We watched live as that house caught on fire. Now, fortunately, Chief Meteorologist Bill Kelly, we may want to bring him back in here in a second, was talking about how the wind was shifting and they were seeing smoke all the way down at Philadelphia International Airport. Had this been a much different situation or a windier day, those homes right next to this scene could have caught, and there was nothing at that point that firefighters could do because they were being told to stay away from the area.
Right there where those firefighters are on the left side of your screen, that's where we saw the roof, the molding of the roof, the angle of the top roof was on fire, and they definitely concentrated on that and knocked that out.
All right. And Joe was telling us about the sound from the district attorney. Stolzheimer, we do have that audio. Let's take a listen.
Two officers were responding to an emergency call this afternoon, a 911 call about an 11-year-old possibly being shot at the property we're at right now.
Well, this is good for
they
people.
responded, and they immediately took gunfire from the house. Somebody shot at them. 2 officers have been injured. My understanding is they are going to be okay. They're in stable condition, but we're saying our prayers for them right now. Everybody in Delaware County should be praying for these 2 officers who ran towards fire when everybody else can run away from. As you can see right now, every agency in Delaware County is out here responding to the scene. The individual inside set fire to the house, and it's been burning for quite a while now. They are putting the fire under control. Then we're going to deal with whether or not the shooter is still alive inside the house. So it's still an active crime scene. There's a lot still going on out here. I'm heading over to the hospital to see these two officers and to offer them my prayers and my thanks for what they've done.
That was
Jack Stolzheimer. Indeed. So we just got a piece of information there that the shooter set the house on fire. We were wondering if there was an explosion or something like that, but we do know now that the shooter set the house on fire.
And we talked about what that does for the investigation when all of that evidence has burned. Aziza Schuler is live now from the scene. Aziza, tell us where you are and what you're seeing from your vantage point.
Yeah, Jessica and Yuki, I'm on Baltimore Avenue and Lewis Avenue. It's about 800 feet from that home where this all took place. Now, if you want to look down the street, you can see there's still some officers and emergency personnel on the scene. That's Yeadon Fire Department, but there were several local agencies that responded to this incident, including Sharon Hill, Darby, Upper Darby, Eddystone. So this was a multi-effort from several local agencies. Things have really calmed down at this point. This has been an active scene since about 3 p.m. And I want to show you some video that we took maybe at 4 o'clock. We were up on the balcony of a home on a neighboring street, maybe about 1 block over. And you can really see the detail of how intense that fire was. The home is burning intensely. You can see it's almost completely demolished. The flames were billowing up into the sky, and there were neighbors all standing around watching to see what was happening, one, but two, a lot of them were not able to get into their homes. This is a time when a lot of people were either getting off of work or picking their children up from school. We actually spoke to a woman who maybe about 15, 20 minutes ago was finally able to leave the street. She had been dropping off groceries to a friend of hers when she heard gunshots ring out.
And then the next thing we heard, pop, 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 pop. No cops had got here. I seen when the cops first started running up with their guns out.
Now, did you?
I said, girl, leave them groceries and let's get in the house because they're shooting.
I'm dedicated to my job. I gotta do this.
And you can only imagine the terror and the feeling of someone not knowing what's going on. You're hearing gunshots. I also spoke to another neighbor off camera, and she spoke about knowing the person who she believes lives in that house. She believes it's a friend of her daughter who's a 12th grade student at a local school here. And she heard those gunshots as well, called the police immediately. And she's just concerned about whether or not that family is okay. If at the scene right now, you still have several residents standing around watching to see what's going to happen next. As we mentioned, it's pretty much calmed down. If you look down towards, this is Lewis Avenue. If we go 800 feet in, that's where that home was on fire. And that fire expanded to cars that were surrounding the home. So it was really a developing situation. But right now, from what we're seeing, some agencies have begun to leave the scene. We saw a SWAT truck leave the scene as well. And we see some firefighters as well walking out right now. They're leaving because we believe the fire is under control at the moment. But where we are on Baltimore Avenue, it is blocked off from Penn Boulevard down to Beverly Boulevard. So there's no traffic able to come in or out of this space at the moment. Yuki, Jessica.
Aziza, thank you so much. We will get back to you. Stand by. Once again, we continue to follow breaking news out of Delaware County.
So yeah, it's getting dark now. Looks like for the most part, I think this is old. They're re-looping the footage again.
Set that home on fire, and it burned for at least an hour. You're looking at live pictures right now from our chopper.
Okay.
In the cover of darkness, just about, as firefighters continue to douse any hot spots, douse the flames. White smoke is a good sign that that fire is just about under control. Many firefighters are using their flashlights right now to maybe search that home and also look for spots where they don't want to go in and find a weak spot and maybe endanger themselves. That's very important. So they're checking the integrity of that building where there is almost nothing, absolutely nothing left.
All right. And we have been monitoring this situation for the last 2 hours. Chief investigative reporter Joe Holden, you have had some very important insight. We are seeing some of those flames still flaring up. Joe, what can you tell us?
I was going to say, Jeff and Yuki, great segue. Yuki, we're addressing the possibility of the structure being unstable, the house.
Probably, yeah.
We know that 3 floors have pancaked into one, and is there a basement? And the district attorney said in that audio clip that they would have to wait for officers to be able to go into the house. These are now arson investigators. I mentioned the ATF earlier, wondering if they'll be brought into this continuing investigation. But this place might not be safe. And there might be some time before not only the hot spot, but the entire building, the house might be compromised with the possibility of a basement. And so they're certainly not going to put themselves at any greater risk. They'll wait to determine that the structure is stable and that its integrity, or what's remaining of it, hasn't been compromised. A few other points that are worth passing on that we heard from the district attorney. We now know that those officers weren't there for warrant service or they weren't patrolling. They were responding, according to the district attorney and according to multiple sources in the county, for the reports of an 11-year-old possibly being shot. That was the first 911 call that apparently a kid had been shot at that location. So the officers from East Lansdowne and Lansdowne, and you'd have to imagine from other departments, are now racing to this reported shooting of a child, and then they are met with gunfire coming from the house. The police officers engaged and were wounded, as we know all of this already, and the district attorney said very plainly the officers were running towards the fire while everyone was running the other direction, and that he said that he would be offering his prayers in support as he would speak with them in the emergency room. I know initial reports, we were working hard to pin down locations and transports. This is what happens in scenarios like this where lots of sources are involved. Information is very valuable, but can also get a little distorted. We know that there was another hospital mentioned at the outset of this breaking news. I've received multiple messages of apology. I'm sorry, my information was not accurate.
That happens,
and that happened. But the sources, want their information to be judged as valuable. So we certainly do appreciate those who trust us to pass along what we've learned or what we're trying to piece together, and they help us out in doing so. But the district attorney with those big takeaways as to how this all started and got set into motion at 3:45 on this otherwise calm, sunny Wednesday afternoon.
And he's coming up shortly.
Yeah.
He's coming up shortly.
And we will take that sound from him as soon as he goes live with that information. But Joe, in a situation, we know as journalists how incredibly frustrating it is when there is a spread of misinformation. When it comes to these officers, their safety, and a scene like this is unfolding, how crucial is it for these departments to make sure that the correct information is being reported and that the DA has that information factual before he can go on camera and speak?
It's a dangerous job when you're running with information that is not accurate. It's flat out wrong. It's
you guys put it up.
Inverted, whatever the word to describe it might be. It's why there is all of this safety net in place to we're filtering, right? We're constantly filtering. And when I think about what set this into motion, let's talk about the elephant in the room. We're hearing that there was a call for a possible child shot. We don't know if that was an attempt to just bring police to a location. That right now for me is the possible elephant in the room, because it is the one detail that prosecutors are only addressing that's what brought them there. But we're not hearing an additional transport. And of course, still we don't know the location of the shooter. We know the district attorney.
Thank you so much for the 50. Amazing. Appreciate that. That was nice. Thanks, Mel. Thank you. And Kayla Newell, thank you for the 8 months. We're waiting. Oh, wow. What's this? Oh, is this earlier?
The result of the fire or something.
Oh, just one guy. They're ready to pop off. Okay. Oh, he got like a school scissors there. Pair of scissors.
There's nothing unusual about this type of investigation where there are this volume of questions to be asked.
Joe, we appreciate you.
Yeah, waiting for a press conference. It's supposed to be doing a press conference. We never even got the one from earlier. There was a Marine helicopter that went missing. They found the Marine helicopter. They haven't said anything about the people inside. I think it was 5 people inside. We never got an update on that. I mean, I'm assuming it's probably not good, but they're supposed to do a press conference. I'm sure they're going to have to address it at some point. There's a lot of people out there. The only annoying thing sometimes right now with this live feed is the news seems to sometimes be kind of recycling the video feed. Because it's nighttime there now. Let me see. Maybe we'll use a different one. I'd like to see just live of the scene right now. And so I don't know. There's a lot of questions about whether there's a child or not. The reason the cops showed up to that house is because there was a 911 call which supposedly came from a child saying they had been shot and there was shots in the background. But as of now, they haven't been able to confirm any child. And one person had said, I don't know if it's the DA or what, he had said that they're not even sure. They're almost wondering if it was a setup. Because as soon as the cops showed up, they started getting shot at.
Yeah, but the good news is, John, and again, thank you for your update. As day turns to night here in this neighborhood, there's the urgency has dissipated. It's just a crime scene that police and fire crews continue to.
And even this almost seems looped to me because they just keep the same fire out this car. They already took care of the fire. They just keep looping the same thing over and over under this car.
Neighbors didn't understand what was going on, and police officers, again, being kept at bay along with fire crews because of this active shooter situation.
We want to get a quick update to Action News reporter Walter Perez, who is now also near the scene. Walter.
Hey guys, I'm here with a gentleman named Ed O'Neill who lives on the block a few houses away from where the whole thing occurred.
First and
just walk me through what you saw today driving back home earlier.
Well, driving home, I saw the police, followed quickly by the fire trucks, and then I saw the smoke coming nearby, and I realized it was close to my home. Caught up in all the traffic trying to get away from that, and then walked up here, and it was a crime scene. I was unaware that anything about the shooting. I was unaware of anything, essentially, except that a fire was happening. And here we are. Now I find out that there's been a shooting, and it's terrible.
And I was going to say, at that moment, you didn't know what was going on. Now you do. What is your reaction to know this is a few houses away?
I'm devastated. I'm shocked. I really am. No words.
Thank you. I do appreciate your time. Sure. So once again, guys, that's the situation at this location, about a block away from the...
Tell us what you know. I saw police.
Perez,
Thank you. That was great. Amazing. Thank you. All right, let's take a look at the live feed. Everybody say Fox 29.
That their fellows in blue and who wear the badges are going to be okay, and we're in good hands here. And you can bet that we didn't know, and we just figured if they got to her, maybe they were bringing her here themselves, or whoever was bringing the officers here. But then we heard they don't think they ever got to them. That was from another officer, a detective I know out in Delco. He said, I don't think they ever got to her before they were shot on their way to getting into that house. And so that was the concern right there from all the other sources.
You guys are saying, because of gas, I guess, water will not put out the fire on the vehicle when it's under it. Why are they just continually spraying it then? You don't think they're just looping the video over and over? We're going to have to see. I guess just to keep it under control.
And was that true? And if so, where is she now and how is she now? And did anybody get her out of the house? Or did she suffer not just bullet wounds, but from whatever happened in that house and a fire? And if there was an active shooter in there, did he just shoot her once, or did he continue to shoot her? Or did he take... You know, we don't even know how many lives were in that house, how many people were in that house. And so that's what we're all waiting to hear. And you can bet maybe nobody knows those answers right now if they haven't been able to get into that house. And it looks like nobody's coming into that house from our vantage point from the sky, does it? And now darkness in there, we're going to be able to see even less with our own eyes until they put some construction floodlights on there all night. And that's when we're going to get our answer, maybe in a few hours. So the questions that we have for these officials who are going to come out and talk, they may not have any answers just yet, even now, 3 hours into this.
It's just such a mystery, and nothing looks salvageable in that house.
And it may be hours, or if not days, before we have answers.
Yeah, I don't even know if we'll get and identity tonight. Make sure you guys subscribe to the second channel, by the way, Ikidmel space CC, because we're doing videos on there as well, bouncing back and forth, so we got notifications. Yeah, this place, like they said earlier, it's 3 levels, and everything collapsed in on itself onto the first floor. They're even asking, they don't know if there's like a basement or something in this property.
Car. I don't think a district attorney would drive himself, but I was just trying to see if that was Jack Stolzheimer showing up here. But they're not letting any of the public get in here. So anybody that comes in is either going to be family members or some kind of authority, and they were just guiding them here. And it looks like they're just parking in front, and we'll maybe wait and see. But that just could be another detective. And I'm also looking at the doors at the same time to see who's coming out here. And there's also people coming and going all the times here. It's a very busy time. In fact, I've covered police shootings, and I've been here for some major stories, but never saw this outpouring of folks showing up here at the emergency room. But then again, you've got 2 officers shot in an ongoing case involving several towns, and not including Philadelphia in this case, because they are helping out as well.
And Steve, remind us again, the chiefs that you have seen there come to the hospital for these 2 officers.
Yeah, that would be the 3 towns involved in this, and that was Upper Darby, Lansdowne, and East Lansdowne. And these are folks that we see in the news business, and I know, but we don't usually see them in the news. And that's Ken Rutherford. He's out in Lansdowne in that small little borough's police chief with a very small police force. And then you got John Zemuth, who's the chief out in the neighboring East Lansdowne. And then a fellow that we do see too often, Upper Darby's superintendent of police, Tim Bernhardt. In fact, Tim is on the news this week as he had a...
Bill says, also for lithium car battery fires, a dry chemical agent is needed to put it out. Oh. So maybe they're just trying to keep it at bay until they can get whatever they need on it. I wonder if they carry it. I'm sure they carry it with it, I guess. Why is it so dark there? I don't know. I mean, over here it's still light, but it's getting dark.
Up here in that unmarked car. So we'll let you know when there's any change here, and don't be surprised if we don't hear from these officials for another hour or so, because the district attorney is certainly want to talk to the family members and maybe talk to those cops, and then get briefed by all the chiefs of police and any detectives that may know what they know before they all come out here together and start telling us whatever they can tell us.
Yeah, Jack Stolzheimer is kind of working as he's not only the district attorney, but he's working as a media relations representative as well. So he has a lot on his plate at this moment. So it may be some time. Chris O'Connell is there in the neighborhood. Chris, I can't imagine living on this street. You got helicopters circling above. I mean, more action than you could have ever wanted, just in tragedy on this block.
Yeah, and you see the flashing lights. It's this is a residential block in a very small community of Lansdowne, and people like we are still asking questions. What went on in that home on the unit block of Lewis Avenue? We are told that a family lives in that home, or a family did live in that home. I'm not sure who or what, but that's what neighbors here are telling me. And when you talk about the neighborhood impact, and Starla, I want to show, people kind of standing outside their homes. Many of the homes, right here, you're seeing they have power, but inside the police line, there is no power from some of these homes. We're not sure if they were shut down because of the nearby fire, or it was shut down on purpose. So it is it's been a pretty chaotic afternoon here in Lansdowne. What is happening now is that fire continues to be treated. It looks like it is now under control. And after that has started to be cleaned up, then the investigation into what started this shooting, how these officers were called to this house.
Don't go to Pennsylvania.
Excuse me. It was a East Lansdowne, and a Lansdowne police officer that was shot, called here for the call of an 11-year-old girl who was shot. We're not sure if there was ever an 11-year-old girl. Excuse me.
Thank you, Regina.
We're still waiting to hear official word from the Delaware County District Attorney's Office and the Chiefs of Police of Lansdowne and East Lansdowne. Luckily, the fire has been put out. Right. We are told the shots have stopped coming from inside the house. We're not sure how many shots were fired, who exactly was firing those shots. But at last look, the suspected gunman was still not in custody and possibly inside that burning house. But a very chaotic day.
A lot of answers still need to be answered, but now still an active scene as law enforcement from all over Delaware County still converging here in East Lansdowne and Lansdowne.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. We've got the press conference with Jack Stolzheimer.
Yes, here we go, finally.
Go ahead, we're ready to go.
Good evening. My name is Jack Stolzheimer. I'm the District Attorney of Delaware County. I'm joined here today by the police chiefs from Lansdowne, East Lansdowne, the superintendent of the Upper Darby Police Department, and the mayors of Lansdowne and East Lansdowne to talk about the tragic but heroic situation that took place this afternoon. At about 3:47 this afternoon, a call went out from our 911 center that an 11-year-old girl had been shot on a property at 58 Lewis Street in East Lansdowne Borough. Police officers from Upper Darby, Lansdowne, and East Lansdowne immediately responded to that call. And braving the danger, they ran up towards danger so that the rest of us can run away from it. They were immediately met by gunfire. And 2 officers have been struck, one from Lansdowne, one from East Lansdowne. They are both doing okay. I just visited with their family, as we all did. They are being taken care of in great care here at the hospital. We expect them to be perfectly fine, but they have been through a trauma. And it was because of the Upper Darby Police Department, who also responded to that call, that these officers are alive today. They were dragged out of danger by Upper Darby police officers. Everybody in law enforcement in Delaware County works together. And we just had a tremendous showing of all of our mutual aid. All of our departments were on scene, some are still on scene, and East Lansdowne dealing with the aftermath of this. As you know, the house was then set on fire. We don't know who the occupants are. We don't know who the shooter was at this point. We don't know how many people are in there or even if they're even still alive. Our compatriots and our colleagues are on scene dealing with that right now. But we are happy to tell people in Delaware County right now that keep praying for these officers and their family, but they're doing well. They're going to be okay. Thank God for that. And I just can't thank these officers and this team enough for the heroism displayed every single day by our police officers throughout the county, but particularly today. I can't thank Upper Darby police officers enough for what they did to drag these 2 gentlemen away from the gunfire. Or we might be having a whole different conversation tonight about what happened.
Any validity to the initial report?
We have no idea. Let me just say right now, we are still actively investigating the scene. We don't know who was in the house. We don't know who the shooter was. We don't know how many people are in there. We don't know their status. We don't know if they're alive.
Wow.
Police officers right now are making sure that that scene is secure. The gunfire has stopped. I just left that scene. Some of us, the chiefs, did as well. The house was still on fire. So we weren't able to make entry yet into the house because we're taking it safely for all of the officers on scene. But we will get to the bottom of it, and we will continue that investigation to know whether or not an 11-year-old girl was or was not shot, but more importantly, who shot these police officers, and we intend to hold everyone accountable.
Jack, can you explain to the people who are watching this on TV and wondering why you weren't putting out the fire? Just explain to the neighbors and everything why you weren't putting out that fire.
Sure, because officers were taking gunfire. The police officers and the fire department who were out there were still shots coming out at the beginning of this fire scene. So we want to make sure, and some of our police chiefs are out there right now. Some of our police chiefs in Delaware County are also fire chiefs. Okay, so they're out there actively controlling that scene. But there is nobody else in danger. We've made sure that the entire block has been emptied of people. And that fire is now mostly under control. But again, we're not going to go make entry into that house until we know that the fire is under control and that it's safe for those officers to go in there. We don't want another single officer hurt tonight in Delaware County.
Jack, can you give us the Upper Darby officers, they get on scene, and can you explain more about how they were dragging? Like, how did that all play out?
I'm going to answer that question. In fact, I'm going to let Superintendent Bernhardt answer that question. But Annie, I can't tell you the exact details of their injuries right now. Their families are with them. I want to protect their privacy at this point. I don't want to tell you the officers' names or their injuries. They are not life-threatening injuries. Both officers are going to be fine, God willing, but they are doing okay, and they're here getting great treatment.
But they weren't both shot. They were
both shot.
Okay. And one each?
One each. Yep, one wound each.
And both males?
Yes, male police officers.
Can you tell us how long they've been with the departments for?
Chief?
Mine's 22 years.
Veteran police officers, 22 years. The officer from East Lansdowne, 22 from Lansdowne.
And how many officers are in your, you have a small department, right?
We don't want to take a lot. They're not going to take a lot of questions. They're going to go back inside and talk to the family. But I do want to have Superintendent Bernhardt, because I think this is a very important. I think people need to know how heroic our police officers are, not just responding to a call, but taking care of each other. Tim, would you mind?
Absolutely, Jeff. Yes. So like the district attorney said today, that call went out for shots fired in the borough of East Lansdowne. The borough of East Lansdowne borders up with Darby Township, and we work well with them and work with them daily. When that call went out, our officers automatically responded to that scene on the uniblock of Lewis Avenue. Our uniform patrol responded and saw 2 officers, and they advised our officers that they had been shot. Our officers, numerous officers responded, got ballistic shields, and were able to go onto that street, drag those officers out. One of those officers was transported here by one of our marked police cars. The other uniform officers from Upper Darby were able to drag the other officer to a waiting ambulance and was driven here as well.
So were your officers taking fire too when they were dragging those officers?
All officers that were on scene initially were taken on fire, and then when they removed themselves from it, there was no more gunfire at that point.
We're now going to go back inside. These guys have to go deal with the situation that is still unfolding in East Lansdowne. I appreciate your all being here. We want you to know that these officers are doing well. We ask for the continued prayers for them and their family. They have to recover from this trauma. But thank you for taking the time tonight. We're going to go back inside and continue dealing with the ongoing.
That is a very dirty thing. If it's true, if this person, whoever the shooter was, pretended that there was an 11-year-old shot to lure cops in. But, you know, they haven't been able to confirm anything because they haven't gotten inside. It's a 3-floor structure. It collapsed on itself. Let me hear what this guy's saying.
We're told that they're doing okay, that each
officers are fine. A lot of people are wondering about this, you know, supposed child. Where is this person at? But they just can't confirm anything. I pulled up the names of the house, and there's a bunch of names that pop up, you know, but I don't know if those are any related or not, or are those just renters or previous people there lived there. You just don't know. There's just so many names. The only thing I could say is that a variety of what looked like Asian names, you know, popped up. I saw Plunder too. Plunder, you there? Just thank you for stopping by. I want to say hi. She has a great channel. I like what I like about her is there's no drama. There's no drama over there. Really good channel to check out. It's just, you know, stories straight to the point, and she does really good work. Let me show you guys this clip too. Let's check here. This is so for people wondering, maybe there's a visual here. This is Raw Alerts on Twitter. Here's the footage from the moments after the scene began, showing officers rushing to assist the wounded officer and seeking safety. Both officers are reported to have been shot in the legs. So here we actually got more information than was actually released publicly. The houses have been since extinguished after the shooter suspect set it ablaze. So somebody was asking in the chat too, how did the house get on fire? Apparently it's the suspect. They don't even know who the suspect is, really. But the status of the 11-year-old girl still remains unknown. The scene is active. There's no way, I don't think there's any way that guy's alive. This is them pulling out the police officers with shields on. They already said it. Oh, that's dope. Look how the ambulance pulls up. And then, yeah, as far as the, I guess we'll have to get a different news station. As far as paramedics or firefighters, yeah, if there's active gunfire, they're not going to just send them to be like, yo, go put this fire out. Yeah, there's bullets flying. They're not going to do that. It just doesn't happen. They have to wait until at least, like, you know, there's not like active gunfire. But I just don't, that's like protocol, I believe. Like, they're not going to send them in just running through gunfire and stuff, you know? All right, let's see. This, to me, they're just showing, looks like they're showing old.
The one officer from Lansdowne to the hospital, another officer was dragged to.
Yeah, that's old footage because, I guess they're looping video. Right now, the fire is pretty much subdued. Let me see. I don't know. Fox 29 took a break. Well, I'll hang out for a few more minutes to see a little bit more, but I think we're gonna have to come back on this to get an update. I want to know the identity. I want to know the motive. Why is there other people? I feel like, I don't know. Did this person kill his family or something? Kill the family and then went out in a blaze and burnt the place up to try to maybe hide the bodies or something. I don't know.
Dude, good guy. I think. Pretty sure that was.
And Nick the Hat still hasn't enabled. I'm gonna have to text him. Still has not enabled redirect. I keep telling YouTubers to do that, but I want to do it. It's a really easy option. I don't think he has it enabled. I was gonna send people over there when I had to get off, but see, Nick. Oh, he has it enabled. All right, maybe we'll send people over there then. I'll hang around for a few more minutes, but he's live on the scene, so maybe we can repay it and just send people over there after.
Going to a call earlier today, at the press conference, did they mention anything about the suspect, his condition?
That's an unknown question at this point. After that active shooter went back in the house, no more shots were fired, but also no one was seen leaving that house. This is a crime scene. This is one that police are going to be processing for some time, investigating, getting to the bottom of who that shooter.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of these people now doing that, kind of wiping out their family. You've been hearing it more and more. I guess it's mental health. Everything's just under this big umbrella of like mental health. I guess. And I guess, it is and whatever.
Beginning now, Becca, thank you. So many dramatic moments here today. Our helicopter overhead in those first frantic moments just after police came under fire and realized they had an active shooter situation on their hands. This is how it looked as one of those two officers we have since learned was shot, was dragged from the scene out of harm's way into a waiting ambulance nearby. You can see officers running to his aid, others running to get him from that sidewalk to that ambulance. He was one of two officers, as we learned, shot in this ordeal. Obviously, the condition of those officers top of mind tonight. They were taken to Penn Presbyterian. Action News reporter Maggie Kent has been there for the last several hours. Maggie, all those officials we just heard from just went back inside. What more can you tell us?
Well, Brian, as you show that video, DA Stolzheimer, the district attorney for Delaware County, says Delaware County works together. And he was talking about the heroism of those Upper Darby police officers, saying if they were not there, if they did not take on that active gunfire and drag their fellow brothers in blue out of that situation who had been shot, this could be a very different situation. He came out tonight after speaking with those officers and their families to tell us that they will be okay. Thankfully, both of those officers, one from East Lansdowne, the other from Lansdowne Police Department, they're veteran officers. Both have.
Yeah. So, okay, let me let you guys know what's coming up. Make sure you subscribe to the second channel, Aiken LCC. Check Twitter. Check Twitter. Oh, okay. So make sure, subscribe to the second channel because we're doing extra content there. Especially like during the day while I'm doing a trial, if something crazy or breaking happens, I will jump on the laptop and do whatever's happening there. Okay, little to no visibility in heavy snowfall. The helo shouldn't be flying. Okay. Oh, okay. So as far as that 5 Marine helicopter, Philosophy says that there's little to no visibility, heavy snowfall. The helo shouldn't have been flying, to be honest. Looks like a Kobe Bryant situation. Should have never been in the air, with the visibility being almost zero. Weather so bad, search and rescue can't really get to the site either. Yeah, they found the crash site, but we haven't really got word of what happened at the crash or what happened there. And that's what I was kind of saying early in the other stream. Like, if they had somehow, because from the reports that I read and the little news clips that I saw, I didn't see like they put out a distress call. So that's what I was wondering, like, was it something that they just immediately impacted something, like in a mountain or whatever, like immediately without even having time to react? I don't know. Did Kobe have, did they put out Kobe was like a very brief distress call, I thought, right? Kobe.
After leaving their officers in the hospital.
Let me see how many notifications we have just to, I'm waiting for that Tucker interview to come out. Oh my God. gosh, that Putin thing. Oh, that people think that the internet's gonna break. I'm waiting for that to drop. I'll sit down, have a little drink, kick my feet back. Whenever that interview comes out, Putin and Tucker. Oh man, these people are gonna be crazy. Okay, so I have. Okay, I don't have any on this channel for today. I think. I was trying. Oh, wait a minute. In an hour. I think I will. I think I have one on this channel left. And Ikidmel CC. Who's this guy? Oh, that's the neighbor again?
Over the past hour or two.
Yeah, about 3:30, I heard a couple of shots. Then a few more shots. Then a lot of shots. Looked out my door.
Oh,
Cop said, "Get back in your door. It's an active shooter." So I got back in and waited.
How long were you barricaded, or not barricaded, but stuck inside your house?
I stayed in the house for about maybe 40 minutes or so. And then once I didn't hear no more fire, no more gunfire, I came to the door and saw the police tape. Went behind the police tape because I wanted to talk up, see what's going on. And I was out here during the course of the afternoon. And about maybe 30 minutes or so, they let us back in our house, but we don't have power right now.
I can't even imagine what that was like. I mean, explain for someone how few people have gone through an experience like this. What was that like?
East Lansdowne is real quiet, is real close-knit community, and we don't hear gunshots. And it was wild. It was crazy. It was just crazy.
Do you happen to know anybody involved, you know?
No, it's further down on my block. I don't know the neighbors. I don't know if there was a child involved or not. I didn't hear that.
I was muted, my bad. We definitely have to update this story, the standoff, whatever, because there's just so many questions. Is there an actual kid? Who is the shooter? How many people are in the house? It's just too much unknowns for this. Check this out too. Flossie sent me this as far as the helicopter update. We got all these stories up in the air going on.
A massive search in Southern California for the 5 U.S. Marines missing after their helicopter went down.
They lost signal for one of their aircrafts in the Pine Valley area. If you're able to start that way and check the area.
Katrina, thank you. Thank you for the 20.
Super Stallion helicopter reported overdue Tuesday night. Search crews finding it around 9 a.m. local time. Authorities say the Marines were on a routine training flight from Creech Air Force Base in Nevada to the Miramar Air Base near San Diego. The weather was not good. The area hit with snow, rain, and wind gusts up to 20 miles an hour. Super Stallion, described as a workhorse for the Marines for more than 30 years, used to move troops and equipment. The White House says President Biden is aware of the accident. It's still not clear what caused the helicopter to go down. Tim Pulliam, ABC News.
Wow. All right, so I'm gonna move you guys over to the other live feed. He's there in person. Let me see. And just thank you for all the members. Gigi, thank you for the 5. Darcy, thank you for the 10. Veronica, thank you for the 14 months. His new channel name, Live with Ikidmel. We might have to have like a live channel or just live all the time, right? True Crime Junkie, thank you for the 6 months. Says, wait, what? Cotton Candy, thank you for the membership. Las Vegas Girl, thank you for the membership. Erica J, 12 months. You have Scanner Audio. It's on here. We listened to a little bit of it. Wasn't much going on. Kimothy, thank you for the membership. Fat Baby Toodles, thank you for the 11 months. What a crazy day. Hope the little girl's okay. Amazing. Thank you for resubscribing. Mindy, thank you for the 4 months. Just love your channel. Katrina, 36 months. Thank you for the great content. Best channel on YouTube. Thank you. I appreciate that. Kayla Newell, thank you for the 8 months. Nick the Hat is live. DB, thank you for the membership. All right. And
for so long now, a couple of hours, really 2 hours and 22 minutes, Sarah Bloomquist and I were walking into the studio here today to begin what we thought would be a normal 4 o'clock newscast. We got word that this was unfolding in East Lansdowne. As we sat in the chair, we began this journey with you that was just exceptional in so many ways and sad in ways too many to count. As we take a live look at the house right now, this is the picture so many waited so long to see. Fire crews dousing that home with fire, rather with water. They could not do this for so long because of the threat posed by that active shooter inside. As we look at the house, some key questions remain here tonight. What came of that shooter?
Gone. If there's any major updates tonight, I'll just jump back on. whether it's this channel, the main channel, the second channel. Nick let us use a lot of his live feed during the Cavalcante. So he finally has, at least I finally noticed it anyway. He has redirect turned on. So I just wanted to send the thanks back. So yeah, if they update the missing helicopter thing, or we finally get an identity with this, hear about the girl, whatever, press conference, we'll come back. I'm going to pass over the torch to him. I'm going to get a few things done, knocked out of the way so I can chill for the rest of the night. And if I come back, I come back then. But definitely tomorrow morning, we'll be back again for the trial, opening statements. All right. So thank you guys so much. Hit the like button.